When entrepreneurs go and meet their CA for the first time, almost inadvertently, they always ask for registering a company. Now, your CA may right away just give you a list of forms and documents that he would require to register a private limited. However, I would want you guys to correct your course a little bit here and think of all other possible ways of structuring your business other than a private limited. So there's a sole proprietorship, which doesn't really require much registration. You just need to open a current account with your banker, which would need your PAN, your Aadhaar, your ID proof. Apart from that, just for the trade name, he may ask you to undergo an Udyam registration, which is a registration under the MSME Act. Fairly simple, can be done online very swiftly in less than 10 minutes. He may also ask you for a shop and establishment registration. Again, at least in Delhi, it can be easily done online. Um, Certain bankers also ask for a CA certificate of trade name being owned by a particular person who will be the proprietor. Again, not a very difficult task. With a sole proprietorship, if you don't really have any other sources of income, you can easily show whatever business receipts you would have for that particular year. You're the only person running it in your own personal income tax return. So there is no additional file, no additional PAN. When you're dabbling with small projects and you think the ticket size would be small, you're just testing the waters. Sole proprietorship could be one easy entity to go with. Then, of course, comes the partnership route. Now, partnership does not necessarily mean a limited liability partnership. There's a partnership under the Partnerships Act 1932 by which two people can just come together, draft an agreement between themselves with terms as per their understanding, as per their liking, execute it on a stamp paper which may be of a value less than 500 rupees, varies from state to state, but would be for less than 500 rupees in most cases. Both partners can sign it off on all pages, get it notarized, get a PAN number, easy to get. In about 2 weeks time you'll have your PAN number, open a bank account and start business. It is extremely easy to also wind up a partnership, so no problems there. Then comes the idea of an LLP, which is registered with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Again, slightly lengthy procedure. The benefit that you get in an LLP or a private limited over a sole proprietorship or a partnership is the idea of a limited liability, wherein if a business entity, a customer, a vendor, or any other third party were to sue you uh, for any act or inaction in business which has caused them a loss for damages, under a sole proprietorship or partnership, these people can go ahead or the court can order for your personal assets to be liquidated to pay off that liability. However, with an LLP or a private limited, it's almost like you're getting an insurance because that party can only recover as much money or capital or net worth and the worth of assets there is in those entities, which is the LLP or the private limited. To set up an LLP is not very difficult. Um, again, certain documentations, think of it as a mini private limited. Then would come your OPC if you're a single entrepreneur. Again, we've spoken about OPC on my Instagram page earlier. You can go look up that video. Then comes your private limited, which again would need minimum two people coming together to form a company. Most people who wish to raise funds in the future through some kind of angel investors or VC funds straight up go for the private limited route. Even those people can consider incorporating an OPC or an LLP first. These two entities can be converted to a private limited later. Coming to the costs of setting up all of these entities, let me tell you, we are going to keep income tax and GST compliance costs aside because they're similar across the board for all these kinds of entities. To set up a proprietorship, it would cost you not over 2 to 3,000 rupees, in my understanding. To set up a partnership under the Partnerships Act, it should cost you not over 5,000 rupees. To set up an LLP, something around 7,500 to 10,000, and to set up a company, it might cost you something between 10 to 15, 20,000, depending on the capital, the number of people who are coming together, and etc. etc. Now, a very important consideration here is under ease of doing business. It's important for you to understand when you're just testing the waters, you should also consider how to shut down the company or the cost of shutting down the company. Assume you're not doing business. You thought of a business idea, you tried it out for a few months, and then you think it's not good enough, you want to wind it down. Under sole proprietorship, no problem, no additional cost. Under the Partnership Act, no additional cost. Under the LLP, OPC, and private limited, you cannot shut it right away. Under a private limited, you need to run the entity with no business for a minimum of 2 years and then write off all possible assets, show that your entire capital has been written off, it's all done, there's nothing left in the company, and then move an application with the registrar of companies to strike down the company. For those 2 years, when you're not doing any business, your minimum compliance cost of getting an audit done, of doing all MCA filing, of doing the ITR filing, which is again mandatory, even if your private limited is not doing any business, would come to easily nothing less than 15,000 per annum. Also, to shut down the company, the government fee, the challan is 10,000 rupees. Your professional may ask for another 10, 20,000, depending on how complicated the case is. So if you're a first time entrepreneur who's just, trying his hand at the business idea, don't straight up go incorporating a private limited. Think about it, give it some serious thought, because to set it up, you're going to spend 20,000 rupees approximately. To run it on an annual basis, even if you do no business, may cost you about 15,000, and you need to do that minimum for 2 years when you're doing no business if you want to shut it down. And even at the time of shutting down, you will easily be spending 20,000. I have not incorporated the cost of all other licenses and all other expenses you may make in the process, but if you start a private limited, there's a very high chance, even if you do no business, you might end up incurring about 1 lakh during its lifetime only on managing that one private limited. So give it some serious thought, discuss it with your CA, discuss all other possible options that you have to start business, and then take a decision.